Welcome friends, today we're learning how to paint with Sal. Today we're painting a landscape, as always, but today we're doing mountains and a flowery field. And I'm going to try to get it done in around an hour, if I can. Let's take a 1-inch brush or something close to it, a flat brush like this, something a little bigger, so that you can get your sky in here pretty easily and quickly. If you use a small brush, you'll get the job done also, but it'll just take a lot longer. Some might say that you should just paint horizontally, but I like to try to fill in all the tooth by going every which way. So for this sky, I just mixed titanium white, ultramarine blue, and some teal. I like to use the teal with the blue because it really changes that color, the ultramarine blue. And as always, as you get toward the bottom of your sky, it's going to get lighter closer to white. So you just want to get your lightest value and put that just at the bottom close to the mountains, and then just kind of blend it up. Now let's get to these mountains. We work from the back forward. So I'm going to take the same brush, unless it's too big for your painting at this point, in which case you can just get a brush that's a little bit smaller than that one. Okay, so basically we're taking a mid-tone here. The main color in the mountains, but not the darkest and not the lightest, but something in between. So look for kind of the main color in these mountains, which in this case is a gray, maybe with a little blue in it. And let's just fill in most of this. Those are trees there, so we don't need to get those. And you can kind of just dab it on like this. That way you get some texture already without even trying. If you just paint it on smoothly, you won't get that, but see how this side at least you see a bit of texture. That'll help in the near future. And then these are also a bunch of trees up here. So you can dab your brush just along the edge here, and that way it'll kind of look like some trees are forming on the top. We're all about cutting corners, at least in the blocking phase, so that we can get things done a little faster. Now a little bit darker still. There's a tree right here. Okay, and for that one I had switched brushes to just a little bit smaller of a flat brush, but we're going back to the thick one so that we can get this whole field generally pretty quickly. So again, this is a mid-tone. If you look at the picture, the grass looks mostly like this. If you were to squint your eyes and you could just see a couple colors, something like this would be one of the main two. So you just cover it all up with this, and then we'll get to our darks and our lights. So this fence in the front, you don't really have to avoid it too much. We can redo that. You can also altogether just go over it if you like. I think that I will leave it, but I'll go around it quickly. Probably partially cover up parts of it. Alright guys, so that is our block-in pretty much. I'm not going to do anything with the fence yet because the grass is probably going to end up covering this a little bit when we start putting those blades in. So we're going to get to the fence at the very end so that the grass isn't messing it up, so that we don't have to redo it a few times. So this is that quick block in. Let's get to the sky and the clouds and then the mountains, and we'll just bring it all forward. And let's get this done pretty quickly. This is supposed to be an easy, more like a beginner painting. All right. Okay, so now let's just refine some of these edges really quick on the mountains. So I'm going to put a little more white into there. So I'm going to somewhat copy my reference photo. And if you want the reference photo to this and all my other paintings, they are on Patreon, which is a way to get these reference photos so you can get better at painting along with me, as well as supporting an artist and cool art community I'm trying to build over there, where you can get feedback on your work, meet other artists, and all of that. So take a look at that. It's linked in the description of all my videos. Alright, and over here to the left, it actually looks a little more blue to me, so I'm just going to add a little bit of blue to this mix. Over here, and again, just refine the edges a little bit so that it's not so perfect. It needs to be imperfect since it's a landscape. Alright, now I'm just getting a little more coverage here. You can see some of the ground of the painting, that orangish pink, that coral color still shining through. And same with here. Let's get a bit more tree coverage. I want to put a little more color into the sky here. So using the mix we already used for the sky, just some ultramarine blue, some teal, and some white. I'm just going to add a bit more blue in there, a little bit more teal again. Alright, I just want to get some better coverage because you can still see some of that in there, and also make the painting pop a little more with some color. So let's start at the top. where we have the most color, the most of that blue and that teal showing. You can leave it a little painterly if you want, or you can still see some brush strokes. Nothing wrong with that. It's all a matter of preference. You can do that, or you can just keep blending. Keep blending until it all just looks perfectly smooth. Whatever way you desire. For me, I like to change it up depending on the painting, just to try something new occasionally. Well, it's picking up some of the paint from the mountain, from the tree. You don't want that, it'll just darken everything up. Alright, well that looks pretty good because this is actually going to be cloud right here. So we don't need to cover it anyway. So let's just grab, put a little bit of white into the mix that we're already using. Because you don't want pure white for the clouds. At least not yet. So to start, I want kind of a blue-gray for the base of the cloud. So just using the mix we already had with a little bit of black. Let's just go in quickly and use the paintbrush with little flicks of the wrist. That's not showing up a ton, so I'm going to put in a little more blue. And I forgot this right here. That's actually not a part of that front mountain, it's a back mountain that's kind of disappearing. So I'll just kind of cover it up, get to it later. Alright, I'm just gonna get the outline of the cloud here. Sometimes it's easier to do it that way, to map it out, instead of getting it all, to get it all at once instead of over time across the painting. Okay, that's a start. Now let's put some white right into that mix. If you put it into the same mix, then you ensure that it looks the same, it has the same colors, and so it makes it more cohesive than mixing a totally different color. So you can copy the photo if you have it, or you can just keep in mind that your light source is coming from the left. So what you want to do is hit the left areas where it might be exposed to the sun, or some areas just won't see it as much, the light won't bounce off of it. So keep a lot of what you're doing to the left. Okay, now we can grab a pure white, since the paint is still kind of mixing from the bottom, even though we're using a pure white, which I usually just reserve just for the highlights. We can use it here because it'll mix with the blue underneath. Anyway. Okay, that's fine for now for the cloud. We're gonna wait until it dries just a little bit, and then we'll add some more highlights to it. But let's get to these mountains now. Okay, so we're gonna use two brushes here. We're gonna use this flat and this rigger brush for the tinier detail. First, let's get this flat brush, and we're gonna find some of these bigger shapes in here to start. So again, because we were doing the sky, some of the edges here became a little less refined than they were, so you can go back out and just hit them really quick again. Make sure it isn't all muddy there. Okay, so take that mix we were just using. I want to blend some blue into there, maybe just a dash of black. We just want to darken it a bit. Alright, and so let's get some of these shapes to show a bit clearer. So doing this, it's not just one big mass. We're breaking up all the shapes now, so we can see where everything is, and everything will start to take form. So this isn't really a detail stage. That's why we're still using this flat brush. Big shapes. The biggest of shapes here. Cover in all the areas that you need to that are in shadow. You can cover them in fully, actually. But because it's a mountain, there are many different shapes in here, and it's easier, makes it easier on us later if we kind of show where things are a little bit. Okay, now we want to get the highlights. So the highlights are going to be kind of a gray, maybe a little bit of umber in there, but I'm going to take this light grayish blue that we already had for the cloud, and put a little umber in there. Let's see. Let's see. That might be a little too light. So a little more umber, and then just a dash of black, just to bring it down a bit. Because it shouldn't be as light as the sky. Okay, again, we're still sticking to the bigger shapes before we head into the detail. And loose brushwork. If you're not used to painting loose, it helps to hold your brush further back. If you get too close to the front, then you're going to want to do the details slowly. So, like that. Alright, it's really starting to take shape here. Keep on going. Big shapes, quick. Just little dashes and squares and rectangles. That's how you paint loosely. And it really helps to paint loose and just learn some other things before you start learning detail. Like value and color and getting all that right. Getting all that right will help, and then details should maybe be the last thing to really learn and hone in on over time. So what we want to do now is we want to switch to our rigger brush, which is a thinner detail brush to get to some of the thinner lines. All right, so if you have that, go for that. If you don't, you can continue just painting loose like we already were. But I'm going to use this rigger brush. And let's go in a little closer. Keep in mind that we're doing this in a quick and loose way, so if you find yourself taking too much time to find all the details in the mountain, then just maybe set a timer and try to keep yourself to it. Set a timer for an hour, see how much you can get done. That's what I have had to do. If I don't do that, my painting will end up taking 8 hours. And I'm trying to do these generally pretty quickly, because the more paintings you get done, I think the better you'll be. Of course, you'll still get better if you take 20 hours on a painting, but it's good to get a variety of subjects and to get them done quickly. You just learn more faster. Okay, so there are some lighter trails on here, and there's also some snow. So I'm going to take some white, put it into the edge of this, just to make it a little bit lighter than the rest. Not too much lighter. And here we go. Okay, so that there is a kind of a little landslide right there, and then there's another one about here. And there's some tiny little landslides, trails, whatever these narrow little pathways and corridors are. There are a few on there. Okay. There's a little one right here coming down from this mountain into the other one right here. Like that. Okay. And a lot of light is hitting right here in this little section. There's going to be some snow on here. But a lot of light is hitting, so I'm just going to put a little bit of a little lighter right there. And at the top, this should be a little lighter than we show it, which we can work on that at the end too. A little translucent layer. Okay, we're still working on all this, but there's some grass coming up on the sides here. So we want, obviously, a green mixture, but it's pretty light. Pretty light and a little desaturated as well. So let's try this. Yeah, maybe a little more color. I'll put in some teal. And maybe a little bit of blue, but not too much. It can overpower it quickly. Let's see. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay. I actually want it to be a little bit darker, so I'm going to take just a tad of black. That might change it too much, so a little yellow, teal. Okay, yeah, that's pretty good. But especially at the top, this kind of starts becoming a shadow up here. And right there, it's maybe a little cloud shadow. But as it goes up the rocks, it gets a little darker up there. And also, this is all grass in between here. Okay. Once again, I'm going to take a little bit of blue and some black, put it in a portion here, and really darken up this green. Yeah, maybe like that. So you can blend it a little bit into the side of the cliff here. Okay, that's pretty good. Now, let's continue with a little bit more highlights here. So we're going to take our mixture that we were using for the mountain. Put a little more white into it. Also, I'm going to just put a little bit of red in there and some yellow. Hopefully that makes it a little orange so we can give it a little bit of color and more of like some sunlight. Let's see how light this is. Alright, yeah, that's pretty good. Alright, now that we're getting more into details, I'm going to use the rigger brush significantly more just to get in these real highlights here. So I didn't mention I am using the rigger brush a lot, but also this the smallest flat brush that I have, because some of these areas are still a little bit bigger, some of these highlights, and so I don't want to only have the rigger brush, which will take forever to put every little line in there. This covers a lot more ground. Okay, now there's a little bit of snow here. So we don't want it to be a pure white, but maybe a dab of yellow to give it that sunshine. Not too much, you don't want it to be yellow snow. Okay. Alright, there's the snow, and then we need a little bit of some kind of detail in here in the path. We obviously don't want it that light. There's no snow there, so it shouldn't be as light as the snow, but it's still pretty light. So let's just quickly make a bit of a trail there. Okay, the snow doesn't look quite right because part of it is in shadow. So I'm just mixing a little bit of blue into a white really quick and getting the portion of it that's in the shadow. It's not quite as blue as I wanted, but if we wanted to leave it there, we could. And we'll take that same bluish white. because some of this is in shadow over here too. Okay, that was too light, so we're trying again. So there's a shadow coming off of here, crossing the path. And there it is. Okay, now there are a bunch of little trees over here, all along the bottom, along these shrubs and everything. So let's get our dark green mix. And flatten out the brush. Alright, and then you just throw them on there really quickly like that. You could spend a lot of time putting all these trees on here, but I like to just quickly throw them on, just like little lines, as long as they're far away. Then nobody's really going to be able to tell. What really matters is getting the coverage. Getting enough of them on there that it seems realistic. All right, and then a little bit toward the front here, over here, you have bigger trees. So it must be closer, unless these are just large trees. But significantly bigger than all the ones to the left. So you can almost fill in this whole space here, because this is the dark, it's basically the shadow, and then we'll come in with the highlight on those trees. A few more over here. Okay, that's good enough for now. I want to get back to this cloud really quick and just add the highlights, since we didn't get to do that before. I'm going to take 2 flat brushes, one a little smaller. Bader? Bader? Bader! What are you doing? Oops. Little doggy scratching at the door, I think. I will go and pet her right after this is done. Alright, so you're taking close to a pure white and again hitting that left side where the light is coming from. There are many ways to do clouds, and there is a more realistic way to do it. If you actually copy your reference photo, you'll see that clouds aren't always just these fluffy things that are all white, that where the sun only hits the left side of these clumps. It's kind of, that's like the typical cloud that we see in our mind that we would draw when we're kids. And it's pretty aesthetically pleasing. People like the look of these clouds. But like I said, there are different ways to do it, and if you want it to be really realistic, more photorealistic, then this probably isn't the way to do it. This is just a way to do it kind of quickly and in a way that people really like to see the fluffy clouds like this. And then at the bottom here, it gets real light right above these mountains, kind of below the clouds. I like to take one area, maybe two, an area that looks pretty bright in the photo, if you're looking at a photo, and just put a lot more of the white there, almost just a pure white impasto, just throw it on there. Take a bunch of white, a bunch of it onto your brush, and just get one area, and it'll look like a lot of the light is just coming out of there. and illuminating the rest of the painting, the rest of the clouds. Okay, that'll do for the clouds. Okay, let's get to these trees here. We are running out of time. Painting like this is very hard to get done in just an hour. Okay, so what I want to do is get a near black. So take a little bit of black, maybe some yellow, some umber, and some ultramarine blue, which I have to put some more back onto this palette. A near black instead of a black because they're still in the distance a little bit there, which is why if you add a little yellow or a little white, it'll keep it from going pure black, and that way we keep it in the distance. And let's just fill in our trees wherever you see shadows. There's less on the left side, like I said, because our light source is over there, but still put some on there because you want some shadows in this tree. And then on the right, it's actually very dark. It seems like almost no light is getting to this over here. Okay, and while we're at it, let's get this one over here. This one is also very dark, especially against the contrast, the backdrop of the white clouds right there. It's almost like a silhouette. And there are a couple smaller ones that look like they're a little bit below this field. Maybe it's a hill over here that goes down. Okay, another hour on the clock, but we can get all this done pretty quickly if we use the right tools. Okay, so we need the highlights in these trees, which are close to the green that we had under there, but maybe we want a little more lightness to it. So take a green or make a green. I need some more yellow here. So we're making a green, but it's very cool in temperature. So we need more blue than yellow to cool it down significantly. And might still be a little too light. I'm actually going to put just a little bit of black in there. And darken it up. Okay. Before we do that, I want to get the silhouette to look a little better here. We didn't get the edges. The edges just look a little furry right now. So we have to get the darks in before we start putting in the color. So I'm going to take this rigger brush, flatten it out on my palette on both sides, and just dab on some of these branches. You can do it pretty quickly once you get used to how to do it. Again, just in case you weren't following along before, earlier in this, you can get the reference photo for this painting and all the other ones that I make on this channel, which can really help when you follow along with these paintings. They're on Patreon, and for just a little bit, you can support an artist as well as getting some other cool stuff like the reference photos on there. And I really appreciate that support. As I'm sure you're aware, you're probably an artist yourself, is a lot of artists need to have a day job. Luckily, that's kind of changing with time. We have the internet, we have social media, which is helping to make it easier to make a living as an artist. But I still have a day job, and the more supporters that I have on Patreon, the closer I am to quitting my day job and doing this full-time, making art and being able to make more and more art for you guys on this channel. That's what I really want to do on this channel and many more. I have big plans here, and I can't wait to show you guys. Just need more time, because most of that time is going to work right now. Anyway, not a sob story, I'm just talking out loud. Just speaking whatever's on my mind, which painting sometimes has a tendency to do. Even though probably notice that I'm talking very slowly, and sometimes it's hard to talk while you're painting because you're focusing on two things at once. I want to get better at that too, but I haven't been filming my painting process for very long, so I'm still learning how to talk while I do it. Alright, hopefully that worked for you guys, just like I just did it. So that's just the first stage. Now let's go back to the green that we just mixed here on the palette. Take this rigger brush, although you can do it in different ways. I think I'll try the rigger brush since it's not that big of a painting, but you can also do this with a fan brush. You can do it with other brushes. let's hit the left side. I'm gonna put a little white in here. In the photo, it's not very bright of a green, but I want to make sure that we are seeing it. Alright, seems to be showing up in there. And again, I'm just doing this quickly because this is a quick painting, but there are other techniques of doing this. If you want to make it more realistic, if you want to spend more time on it, get more detail, you can do that too. Let me know if you're interested in that. I am thinking of starting a second channel specifically for the paintings or the process where I go into more detail so it gets closer to like a photorealistic painting by the end. I just didn't want to put that on the channel as well as everything else. So yeah, let me know if you're interested in that. Okay, so at the top, a lot more sun is hitting, so put more green at the top and less as you go down. And this tree, because the light seems to be more directly behind it, you only have some green on the, mostly on the very edge of it. So mostly on that left, but just a little bit there. Okay. And something I forgot to leave in there, which will make it look better and more realistic, is trees have space between them. Usually they're not just a clump of tree, you know. So you need some air showing through, some sky. So if you didn't leave the sky in there, what you can do is take your rigger brush or another small brush like it and just show a little bit of that sky in there. You can probably keep doing that forever, but you know, just hint at it a little bit in some spots. A little bit on this side too, but make sure once you get down to like where the mountain is here that you don't go below that. If you do, you need to mix a mountain color, obviously not a sky color there. And try to keep your shapes all different and organic. Some smaller, some bigger. here, because the cloud is directly behind, you want it to be not the sky blue, but the kind of the white of the cloud, right? Alright guys, the time is ticking, so let's get to this field now. So what I want to do is take one of these darks, because you have some dark behind the grass here. I would say almost a black, but yeah, we can do that, why not? You can either take the texture brush on here and just make a texture everywhere. I think that's probably going to be the best way to do it. So I'm mixing some umber, some ultramarine blue, and a little bit of yellow. And we're going to take a texture brush like this, hog hair, bristly, kind of very dry. Take that. And we're just going to tap all over here. This is making some texture for us. This is really going to help to make it look a little more real, and especially because we didn't do this really in the background, which we could have, but because we didn't, it'll really put a lot of the texture, the detail in the front, which will bring it forward, because the background will look a little more smooth. So this is really going to come to the forefront. As you can see, the more thinner you use, whether it's water or something else, the more you use, the more will clump up and come off here. So these real dark areas are when it just gets too wet, which is fine. There's not an exact science to this. We're going to be putting the grass over all of this. Just hit the camera. Okay, and I forgot we haven't done this here. This is actually some trees as well. I'm just going to put a little bit of texture back there, just so you can see how it works in the distance. But see, when it's in the distance, you don't want it to be black or near black like we did here, because you want it to go back in space. Okay, if you still have the green that we used for these trees, we can use that also for these trees. Maybe put a little more blue into it. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to put a little bit of blue and lighten it up somewhat with some white. And let's just take a flat brush again. We're just going to quickly indicate some trees. See how you can just dab up very quickly to show some tops of trees. Actually, I should have done that with the dark, but too late now. So now we indicate the trees. Don't space them all the same. Just have a little bit of variation in there if you can. Because it wasn't too dark to begin with, we aren't seeing a ton there, but that's fine because it's in the distance. But I'm going to add a little bit of white to that. A little bit of yellow to warm it up. And maybe just do one more quick pass so it looks more like some highlights there. This isn't the greatest brush here, but it'll do. Okay. Just want a little subtle texture back here because it looks so flat. Again, something I would do if I wanted to spend more time with more details. Oh, I guess we forgot. We gotta do the same thing over here. Just quickly hit the left side of what looks like some trees over here. Okay, now we're finally to this grass. Okay, with this grass, there's a variety of techniques we can use. Sometimes I don't even know which way I want to go with it, but let's see. I think I will grab a fan brush. And the green that we have here, let's go a little bit lighter than that. So let's mix a green again. I'm not going to use my fan brush to mix it, because then it just gets all messed up. So get your blue and your yellow, and it's not too cold and it's not too warm. It's somewhere in between. It's just basically a green. Let's start with this, and then we will gradually lighten it up. So let's see what we can do with this fan brush. Get some of the paint onto the edges, push forward on this fan brush. Let's see if we can make it look a little like grass back here. Oh yeah, look at that. That actually looks really good for grass. Yeah, so right now I'm just swiping up. I guess you could swipe both ways. You can see the difference. If there's any difference, it depends on your hand. For me, there's not much of a difference either way. So I'm just going to switch it up depending what seems more comfortable at the time. And what's also cool about doing this fan brush way is look how it already seems to be creating its own little clumps there, which again makes it look a little more realistic than just flat, perfect grass everywhere. So what I'm doing is first I'm just trying to get some coverage, really. So it doesn't really look like perfect grass now. If I wanted to go really slowly, I could make it all look great. But I just want to cover it quickly because this is just the first layer. Okay, so we want this to get a little... actually, we covered a lot of the darks, so I want to put some more darks back into it. Just a few. So I'm going to take some black. You can take black or umber and ultramarine blue. If it's too dark, put a little yellow in there. Okay. Because if you start looking at grass closely, you'll see that there are a lot of shadows in there. A lot of blades of grass are covering other blades of grass. So it creates a lot of shadows underneath. And if you want the grass to look kind of realistic, you need to have the darks, you need the contrast of the darks with the lights. But like I said, as you get further back in space, you won't see as much of that, so I'm not going to spend much time in the back, only more so at the front. Okay, now that that's done, let's mix a green that's a little lighter than the one we were just doing. So I'm going to take some more yellow into there, a little more white, and maybe some teal because it's looking a little too yellow. The ultramarine will make it a lot darker, so some teal for color right there. How's that looking? Alright, let's give it a try. Okay, so you want to just barely hit. If you have a lot of paint on there, if you hit it too hard, it'll just become a glob, and then it won't really, you won't really get the shape of the grass. So you need to just kind of tap the edge of it on there. So back on this horizon line, it's a little further back, and so I'm just hitting, I'm not hitting and pulling down. The closer I get down here, I'm gonna pull it down to make longer reeds or strands or blades of grass like that. But when you're up near the top, you don't need that because you wouldn't see that. You're just going to dab on just to get a texture back there. So just keep going until you fill it all in. I think I will speed this slightly up so that you don't just see this repetitive thing going on for too long. Let me just speed it up and get it done. And if I go too fast for you, just pause the video and then once you're done, start it up again. Please leave me a comment down below. I love to get comments, and especially I like to hear where you're from in the world. Where are you from in the US? If you're here, which state are you in? I love to travel. I've been to around 40 countries. Traveled extensively, and I love to hear about people around the world, and it might be a country that I've been to and I love. So let me know where you're from. Okay, so see, it's already looking like a nice grass. But we want to get some more highlights in there. But I'm going to do a different technique. Here, I'll say hello really quick. Let's do a different technique, and this one's a little more manual. It'll take a little longer, but since we already have the texture, a lot of the texture in there, it's not really going to matter too much. Because we don't need to put every individual blade, but we'll put a lot. So I'm going to take the rigger brush and go back into this green, but this is going to be a highlight. So let's make it lighter with, once again, some more white. And maybe a little teal. I want to bring some more color into this, and not just yellow. We're going to do yellow flowers soon, so I wanted to make it a little more blue, just to get a little contrast with those flowers. I don't want it all to be warm. And I ran out of my ultramarine, so let me get a little bit more on there. Put just a little ultramarine on there. Alright, I think that should work. Let's take the detail brush, the rigger brush, flatten it out on both sides, and let's see if we can create some individual blades of grass here. that looks pretty good. Obviously, this could take forever, so you don't need to go too far back with this. Once you get back here, you know, you don't need the blades. So maybe just go kind of halfway back, do some really small blades every once in a while back here. I'll just quickly go in and just, you barely tap, barely hit the canvas. Okay, so you see how I'm doing it. Again, I think I will speed this up really quick because this will take just a little while. I'm not going to spend what I usually would, which is I could spend an hour or two just painting blades of grass. But on this, I'm just going to spend, I think I'll limit myself to 10 minutes. So a quick 10-minute time lapse, and then we'll get to the flowers and the fence here. But really quick, make sure that you get the blades of grass all in different ways, shapes, and sizes. You can even vary the color a little bit so that it looks more real. So some of it, maybe put a little more yellow into some, so they're a little more warm, and then some darker ones and all that. That's what I would usually do. I'm not doing too much of that this time. All right, I'm gonna stop talking. 10 minutes for me, 20 seconds for you. Let's go. Alright, so I just want to add some real highlights to some of these blades. So just mostly a white, but mix it into your green, into the side. And just for a little more realism, just some of these blades of grass you have here in the front, you can hit them again or hit a side. Like this. Just some quick highlights on some of the thicker ones, some of the closer ones, or just make a whole highlighted piece of grass. If you want to spend time with it, I think you should. After we're done with the lesson today, you should continue, and you can make it look really good if you put a bunch of highlights on there and you keep building up that grass individually. But now, let's get to these flowers. So these flowers are so small, they're basically just dots of yellow. Just little splotches of yellow, and there seem to be many, many of them. So we can do this individually with the detail brush, just splotching them on there, or you can take a grass brush like this. See this? It has some bristles at the top spread out so that you can do grasses and things. So let's just get these at the back. Oh, let's take a look at the palette. And I need to get under this camera somehow. Well, see, if you don't just hit it totally direct, then it looks more like grass. So you really need a bit of an impasto effect. Just get a lot of paint on there and dab it on like that. So I know it takes longer, but for me, I feel like the rigger brush just works a little better for me. It takes longer, but I don't know. This thing is pretty hard for me to really get detail on there, so I think I'm gonna begin to just put them in one by one. So that's really all it takes, just like that. I suggest, like I said, put some white into it, not necessarily for the color, but just for the transparency of it. At least with my paints, when you're not using the most expensive paints, the white a lot of times is what makes it less transparent. A yellow will be translucent and you'll see through it a little more. So that's why I mix some white. Alright, let's keep going and let's speed it up for a little bit. Alright guys, last step. Let's get this fence done. So this fence shouldn't take that long. Grab a smaller flat brush, something that kind of fits the thickness of the fence if you have it. That might be helpful. And let's begin with the dark. The dark is close to black, but we're gonna put some white into it So it's more like it's a very dark gray brown. So umber, some black, some ultramarine blue. Put a little white in there just so it's not a pure black, or it probably won't look right. Alright, now let's just go back in where our fence was, if you can still see it, or else you'll just have to look at the reference photo to find where you should put it. It should work with one fell swoop, like that. Okay, and just do that for every little piece of this fence. Okay, you want this one much thicker at the bottom so that it looks like it's coming forward. And don't forget the little piece right here, where that's coming forward as well. Okay, so take that same brush, we're gonna make a gray. You can use a piece of this mix if you want to, the mix we're currently using. Put some white into it. I'd put a little red if you have it. Maybe a tiny little bit of yellow, because it has a little color to it. Okay. There it is. Now you're going to get the top. Make sure to leave the shadow. Now first let's get the top of this. And it has a little bit of light hitting on one side here. I'm going to lighten this up significantly because it's a bit overexposed in the photo, almost white. And go ahead and do the same thing on top. And this one. Don't miss that one. Alright, so I'm going to take the paint off my brush, dampen it a little bit, and that way I can blend slightly the top into the bottom. Just keep working at the detail of it until it looks right. I painted a little too far over here, so it doesn't quite work right there, so I need to change that. Okay, that's the general outline of the fence, but it needs to be significantly lighter still, so we need some more white. mixed into this a lot more white. We're going to brighten it up a lot. Alright, and let's see how this looks. Yeah, it's really hard to paint at this angle. I should show you guys. Alright, tracking me. Look at this. I have to get down here under my camera because my camera is right in front of the painting, so I always kind of paint to the side of it. But when I'm trying to get to the lower left-hand side of a painting, sometimes it's pretty difficult, and I'm way down here trying to make sure I can get in some of these details. Oh. Alright, that's a lot closer. Also, if you don't totally fill this in and you leave a little bit of space in between the way that we did it, it'll kind of look like wood already. See that? I should have left more of that on the other one, but too late. I think it's just because of this position I'm in. I can't really... Gotta pick and choose what I can do from here. Let's see if I can get a straight line at all from this angle with the rigger brush. Not bad. And with the rigger brush, this is where it's easier to get some of this texture in here. Alright, we're just about done here, but I just want to take a little bit of umber to the side, maybe some yellow, because there's really no color in there anymore. If I add some red, there, a little bit of red. So, it looks really washed out, like it does in the photo, but I just want some color. So take the rigger brush and just put a little bit of color in there. Then in the rest of it, you can just hint at some breaks in the wood, which will provide a little bit of color, maybe more so along the shadow side, because it will darken it up a little bit. Alright, a couple more details on this fence. So, this right here, this post will create a shadow on this one. So, just a little bit lower and just a little bit of a shadow. Make sure you curve it along with the curvature of the fence. Make it look more real. And maybe a little break in here. Okay guys, that's it for this painting. Make sure you watch this other one if you want to learn how to paint better. I'll see you there.